Okay, everybody. We're going to be watching a video today by a small up-and-coming channel that you guys should definitely go check out. Links in the description and the pinned comments. Who made a video about a pretty interesting topic. The channel's name is Doplex, D-O-P-L-E-X, and they made a video called The Manhunt on Disney's Forbidden Island. Now, this obviously caught my attention, and I watched a good bit of it, but I thought it would be good to watch on stream with you guys because I'm actually going to be taking a trip to Florida in the next few days, so how fitting, you know, I'm from Florida and all that. And then, of course, you know, it's also somewhat ACAB related. You see, the police get pretty heavily involved in this, and I kind of think, despite the fact that what this guy in the video did was illegal, it was pretty ACAB, if you ask me. I think it was an ACAB moment. That's my opinion. So let's go ahead and check this out, and I'll give you guys the commentary I wanted to add when we get there, or as we get there. This video is interesting as hell. Hypers in chat if you have no idea what this is about. I'm actually curious how many of you have no idea, like, about this story. I think meth is involved. This guy looks like a Florida meth man, I will admit. He looks, talks, and acts like a Florida meth man. I cannot deny that. Okay, so fair amount of you don't know.
What's really going on, Walt Disney? What's really going on? What are you protecting on this island? That's so f***ing good. There's something up they don't want people to know about.
Richard McGuire,
I'm
also known as Southern Pirate
still
Outdoors.
in a dream, Snake Eater.
Southern Pirate Outdoors had just finished swimming for his life, escaping a seemingly inescapable situation. Surrounded by Disney's private security and Florida sheriffs, he hides in the brush off the shores of Bay Lake. He had just escaped Discovery Island. He called his girlfriend to give her the news, but would be shook to his core when he found out that the cops were one step ahead of him.
Fucking ACAB, dude. Because the alligators, some bro.
Disney's Treasure Island, later renamed to Discovery
Gators.
Island, is located in Bay Lake in Orlando, Florida, just a short boat leg from the Magic Kingdom. When it first opened in 1974, Disney goers were in for a walk on the wild side, as it would provide tourists and locals alike with an exotic getaway.
Basically, they built an island like a mini Jurassic Park for birds and other, like, some of it's Florida native wildlife, a lot of it wasn't. And a lot of the plant life they imported and grew on this island also isn't native. So one of my favorite things about this video is when he starts exploring the island, you see all of the invasive tropical plants that have taken over all in bloom. And it's just like this little forbidden island of, like, invasive tropical plants that have overtaken it like Jurassic Park 3. It's so
Getaway
cool.
with lush vegetation and a different kind of wildlife than what people in Florida were used to. The popularity for the attraction and animals in general would dwindle throughout the 90s, and seeing as the
I'll admit, I've definitely got a thing for urban exploration. One might argue that someone I know that isn't me has done a fair amount of trespassing back in the old days, but that was, you know, those were the old days.
There's little to no profit in wildlife conservation of this magnitude, Mr. Mouse decided it'd be best to just bludgeon all the animals with a tire iron and close it for good in 1999. Now a shell of its former self left to rot, all of the original buildings and habitats remained on the island, withering away due to years of neglect and natural disasters. And yet, it remained heavily guarded, and certain people were desperate to know why. But in all honesty, no one was more desperate to uncover the secrets of Mickey's mysterious mask than a subsect of filmmakers on YouTube whose ears perk up like a nipple under cold breeze whenever they hear the word abandoned, exploring the long deserted and documenting their experiences for people who are afraid of confrontation. Like,
I feel like this was people seeking out that liminal space feeling before the concept of liminal spaces had really blown up online. Like with the back rooms and the pool rooms and all those, like, super eerie images.
You and me, I'm sorry for saying that. And for those urban explorers, abandoned theme parks are like their holy grail.
Start exploring an amazing amusement park.
Their white whale.
Part of this theme park.
Their Disney-themed guck job.
An abandoned theme park.
The allure of a consumerist wonderland that time forgot is just one that we're all naturally drawn to.
That's so creepy. That abandoned, like, I don't even know what display with, like, that's all murky and dark with the shark inside adds so much extra creep factor, dude. That is full-on thalassophobia fuel. That is f***ing thalassophobia fuel. And there's not a bit of water around. Just epoxy resin, probably, clouded up from age, and the outline of a, like, decayed Fiberglass shark. Thalassophobia. What? It's thalassophobia. It's fear of the ocean.
It's just one that we're all naturally drawn to. Who can blame a man for wanting to see what's left? Or in this case, what was still worth guarding? Discovery Island had been explored by a few trailblazers, each trek more difficult than the last, as Disney would tighten security with each new breach. That was until Richard McGuire gave it a try, and Disney decided they had had enough.
Going to Disney Discovery Island next week, and always be ready on your worst day.
7:26 p.m. Apocalypse. COVID-19.
In 2020, the news broke of a goofy little green ball with Shrek horns tickling our insides. People began to panic, and as a result, many of the bustling attractions from Disneyland would close their doors for the safety of the patrons. The Mouse House was emptier than a Cyanide Pills Anonymous meeting, but they were about to receive their first guest in months. Richard McGuire, aka Rip Thorne, aka Southern Pirate Outdoors, spends his time exploring abandoned locales and documenting dangerous wildlife. Growing up in Alabama, Richard had always wanted to go see Discovery Island for himself, but his dad always told him no, as spending $10 to go see some stupid birds is pointless when you could just look up and see them for free. So what better time to fulfill his lifelong dream than during a global pandemic? So he decided that not only
this is
going
the
to
Florida
practice
man.
social distancing from the comfort of an abandoned theme park for a week, but he was also going to
Is this GoldenEye music? Probably.
The wildlife that Disney was supposedly hiding. More on that later. For months, Richard studied the area and mapped out his journey. And in the evening hours on April 27th, 2020, Richard began his recon, making a trip around the Disney World parking lot and showing just how empty it truly was, describing the scene as a virtual ghost town. Richard's driving around, he's got his kayak on his roof.
Now there's always a Nazi march out front, so, you know, at least it doesn't look empty these days. There's always some swastika flags out front now.
He parks his car to go get a better look at the docks. Once he's done, he comes back and somebody steals his kayak. And even though this was his means of actually crossing the lake, he wasn't gonna let that stop him. On his way back home, he stops at 7-Eleven and he notices a guy with a canoe on his roof. It wasn't for sale, but that guy did have a shoddy aluminum boat that could be negotiated.
I'm constructing a new trap right now. It's a deep water trap. I have reason to believe this animal that I'm after is not in fresh water anymore. It's always good to be a sportsman.
When you find out what animal he's after, oh boy, are you guys gonna lose your fucking mind. This guy is a character.
Never good to be an outlaw. Do your things right, because Mother Nature is fragile, and if we all out there breaking the law,
so I can make money for my videos, Chris473.
And it's, as we see with the coronavirus, you know, mankind is absolutely ruining this world. Be a sportsman and not an outlaw.
2 days later, he returns to the area, parking his van in a secluded area in the suburbs a few blocks from the park. Richard would then wait until nightfall to begin his journey towards the shore. In his inventory, a flashlight, a water bottle, scuba gear in case things go south,
I love
some
this.
tape,
This is a good edit.
his cell phone, and that small aluminum boat. So with the sun fully set and the plan fully in motion, he's ready to go. Richard dragged his boat about a mile out of the suburban neighborhood, through the wooded area and across a long pipeline, taking breaks in between as the weather began to work against him.
Another mile, mile and a half. Easy work.
And that's when he notices the forested area he had been traveling through has eyes in the trees.
Trail cams. These are auto trail cams too, monitoring activity down these.
This is where shit gets intense.
Right here, and I gotta track the boat by here. That's the first one I.
Literally, like, the miles of woods adjacent to Disney are filled with trail cams. They don't want anybody sneaking in, even if they're coming from the swamps.
But there might have been more. Send some pictures direct. See the wire? Not good. I'm gonna put something over the front of this one.
So he covers the camera and makes note to avoid these in the future, and carries on as he makes his way forward. 3 hours pass.
He was likely caught by
and
many.
Winded from dragging the boat, he comes to a barbed wire fence and has no choice but to lift his boat over it. And with that final push, he made it to the dock.
Southern Pirate out.
He's going across the lake now.
This raggedy boat I just bought. No wonder I got it at such a good price. damn near sunk.
So under the cover of night and bad weather, Rich ends up making it to Discovery Island, but not without trouble. Turns out the boat that he bought was damaged, and it started taking in a lot of water as he was crossing the lake. His boat almost sinks, and his battery is underwater, so he ended up just taping up the holes.
It's destroyed.
And carrying on.
The only way he'd be able to get back is paddling that little boat with his hands.
As dead as you're ever
or a
gonna
paddle.
see. There's not
Or
a soul
stick.
in here other than cops and security
Palm frond.
guards. Anyway, let me get the hell out of this boat before it sinks completely.
So with the worst behind him, he comes to a small abandoned building on the island and takes shelter for the night. Starting a small fire to dry off his boots, he waits until sunrise.
Here I am, folks. Discovery Island. In a lake they call Bay Lake. It's a natural-made lake by Mother Earth. It's full of alligators. There's
Can you guys, do you already know what he did dumb here? Also revealing his location. Well, it's not a live stream, and the video's about him going to this island. Like, that's what the video's about. But do you know what he did that's dumb here? Because he did dox himself. But do you know what he did? It should be obvious to you. That's right, Sodabit. He brought his phone, and he's connected to a cell tower. That's how he's using this satellite app. That means that his location and his phone and all the information on it and his identification associated with it is being pinged off nearby cell phone towers, which can be used to triangulate his exact coordinates. Exactly where his phone was.
There's been several deaths in this body of water. Walt Disney likes to brush stuff under the rug. They don't like to tell people. And this poor little kid got snatched out of this body of water right here. They try to tell their guests that there's no alligators here. I've been diving these waters since 2004, and I've seen more gators in this area than just about anywhere else I've ever seen them.
So what he's referring to here is the tragic story of 2-year-old Lane Graves, who was building sandcastles on the Seven Seas Lagoon.
Like, to be fair, he is right. What he's talking about here is Disney lying about the infestation of alligators in that lake that they allow guests to basically, like, get into.
And
you'll see in a minute.
Up by an alligator. This would lead to Disney ramping up removal of the alligators on the park premises despite being previously aware of the problem. And yeah, there were
It is Florida, and you should just know that any, like, body of water that's fresh will always have gators in it just by default. But, like, yeah, I mean, Disney allowing people on their property to do that is very irresponsible. I was there. They have all the beaches roped off now. That's good.
A lot of them.
Yeah, that's pretty sad that a place like Walt Disney lies to their guests about wildlife.
You see, Richard had seen his
gators
fair share of
are far
wild
more
animals,
dangerous than
most
sharks.
notably the alligator snapping turtle, which he believed to be a modern-day dinosaur. But he believed he could catch one on Discovery Island, prove that there's more to worry about than just gators. Of course, that was just scratching the surface of this hunt, and let me tell you, it's a lot fucking crazier than big turtles. I initially read about Richard's Adventure 2 battle on this Twitter thread, and here it states that Richard was hunting for some sort of genetically modified abomination that was hidden at the center of the island, and it was funded by the US government. It was a whole thing. But I couldn't find anything of Richard actually talking about this directly outside of a few
Florida's own Jurassic Park.
I wandered into the comments of his final entry in the series. According to Rich, there is, quote, something on that island. Now, supposedly, after all of this is said and done, Richard was briefed by the Secret Service. I can't give credence to this claim because I don't fucking know, but a reply to this gives some context.
Supposedly, genetic research testing was done underground during off hours on the island, funded by the US government. What better way to hide something than in plain sight? And a creature they'd been working on using birds had escaped and wreaked havoc. It cannot escape the island, but remains in a lair where it comes out at night. Supposedly, this thing can't leave the island due to its mechanical devices / weight. Could be BS, but thought it was interesting. The creature that got out was part eagle, some say cockatoo, and part robot / mechanical. They say it can kill someone in one swipe.
What in the...
Oh. It's most likely to be total BS, like I said, and this rumor goes back a long time.
Dude, only in Florida, dude. Only in Florida. I was really hoping that this was going to be the backstory to, like, some Florida sky cryptid. He's hunting a cryptid? Yeah, he's literally hunting a cryptid.
It may not be alive now. The person who wrote about this to be
That's why he's on the island.
Not to go there, and that you have been warned.
Have you found any more info? I can't find a rumor, a conspiracy, or anything.
Supposedly, as you get close to the island,
Apparently this is like this guy's personal conspiracy theory. The guy who's going to the island. Like maybe a few other people believe it, but it's like his big thing that he really believes and wants to prove.
And it starts to get dark. Birds will start to screech to warn you not to get too close to the center of the island where this thing lives. It's part mechanical robot, part bird. Also explains why the police terminated their search for Mr. Pirate flag emoji, as it was getting dark. The local police must know something.
Source. I'm gonna need the source of that information that you sent, because I might pay a visit to that thing with a freaking gun.
That's a long way to say big robot bird dinosaur. I mean, could Disney really be housing a Frankenfowl on their property? Well, let me ask you this. Did you know that the last dusky seaside sparrow died on Discovery Island? Extinct. Gone. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'd like to see a minimum wage employee play Sneed Seed and Feed with a fucker that big. Anyway, now we have an idea of what Richard was possibly there for.
Let's get it on.
The sun has now risen over Discovery Island, and Richard prepares for his week-long excursion.
Virtually untouched by humans for over 21 years. And you can tell
it's literally
there's no graffiti. This is the kind of
it's like Jurassic Park 3, dude. Like this is some of the coolest abandoned like scenery I've ever seen.
8 inches green, man, that's crazy. It still has water in it. Look at those flowers.
This is what I was talking about, the blooming invasive tropical flowers that were imported in. Those aren't native to Florida, I'm pretty sure.
Very solid. That is so cool. I wonder what animals are still here from when this place was open.
Just imagine you hear the Velociraptor call from Jurassic Park in the distance.
Cool. It's unreal.
Gotta fucking hide.
Unreal. It's unreal. Just left everything just like it was.
21 years
the stuff that I've been doing my whole life.
Of decay.
Into this, you know, like and subscribe so I can go and do more and bring y'all to places that y'all might not ever get to see. That's a massive tree right there.
That is a big fucking tree.
Big cypress tree.
That's a big tree for Florida, not for like Washington State. There's so many big trees here.
All my trash as I leave.
All is going well so far. After inspecting the cages, he steps out into the open walkway, turns to his left, and
footpaths are in here.
There it is.
Oh great, I'm on game camera. Not good. I'm busted.
This is where the stealth mission starts.
I got out of here.
Dun.
Caught me first.
After being extremely careful and mapping out all of the locations of the trail cameras, he got careless.
Just in case.
So naturally, Richard immediately turned tail, headed back to the abandoned building he was camped in, grabbed all of his belongings, and began planning his
escape from Discovery Island.
Sheriff's Office, you're being recorded. This is Operator Moore. How may I help you?
Hi, this is Lucy Walters from Home Security.
Hi.
I've got an investigator requesting county assist in response to Discovery Island.
Do you have an address or?
4600 Fork Wilderness Trail.
What's the name of it?
Discovery Island.
To say that Disney's reaction time was impressive would be an understatement. From the moment that trail cam flashed on my man Rich, they were on him like stink on shit.
Someone was seen in an out-of-bounds area.
Sighting of a person in a restricted area.
They were on him.
Seen on camera. He didn't give me a description.
Are you all en route or are you there?
They're en route. They have to get a boat to get to the island.
Okay, well, we'll send deputies out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
A search party was formed to find the trespasser. 2 sheriffs took a boat to the island, guns drawn, and they began to push forward, until they realized just how big the island really was, and decided to call for backup. Meanwhile, Richard treads carefully through the crunchy woods, then he begins to hear voices. Not like a schizophrenic episode, but literal voices, coming from a chopper circling overhead.
They're lying. He's under arrest.
At this point, Rich figured if he hid really well, the cops would get tired and call it the search and go home. So he decided to bury himself under a bunch of leaves as the sound of boats and choppers got louder and louder.
Yeah, this is a LARPing cop's wet dream.
Disney World's got all that money. They can do whatever they want. Just going around and around in circles, circling the island. These motherfuckers aren't playing.
Crossing, okay?
He thinks it's like Disney's money, but it's literally just the police. I mean, it's taxpayer money.
Door will open your side, hot side of your door. You ready?
Okay, shirts, come on, your hands up, do it now.
Man, this is really, really fucking weird right now. I'm stranded on Discovery Island.
What is this? What they hatch baby dinosaurs in? Behind me. There's something to step on.
I like how the cops with the excuse to be there are literally exploring it. Like, they're looking for him, but they're also exploring it themselves. They're literally doing the thing they're there to arrest the guy for doing. They're doing the exact thing the guy that they're there to arrest is doing.
Okay. Police officers and island guards were circling the island. Not only that, but they located his boat and his provisions and confiscated them to entice Richard to come out of hiding. Thirsty and running out of options, he begins to drink the rainwater pooling on the leaves. Then he realizes he needs to come up with an escape plan. This man then goes naked snake mode and progresses through the woods, stopping every so often to listen for his pursuers. This whole game of cat and mouse lasted for roughly 4 hours. Then the survival instincts kick in. He heads to the beach, he looks for some water bottles because the plan is to make a flotation device.
He's got to go through the alligator-infested lake, swimming.
I'm so thirsty. Oh, it's the best water I've ever drank in my life. I'm not gonna drink that Mountain Dew there. It's a little rough.
With enough bottles to float to shore, he stuffs his backpack with them, ensuring that they'll float. And then, it's time.
Alligator-infested water, dude.
Life, so he's no stranger to muddy waters, but remember, Bay Lake is filled with thousands of gators, so if he wanted to make it back in one piece, he had to be quick.
It's less about being quick and more about being graceful and not being on the surface. Alligators can only see what's above them.
Didn't go as planned. Tired as hell, he had to keep pushing. 1 hour later, he reaches land.
Hell yeah. Oh my God. Nobody's ever gonna believe what happened to me today. Thank God.
Upon making it to shore, Rich takes a moment, he catches his breath, and he decides to call his girlfriend to
Here
let her know that
comes chat.
he's there.
I just made the swim.
Here comes the ACAB moment. How do you feel about this guy? Hyper's in chat if you're rooting for him. Like, as crazy as he is, at this point, he's hurt nobody. He's not hurting anybody. I'm rooting for him. I am. Fuck Disney. Like, I know, like, Disney's getting attacked by a lot of far-right bigots right now, but also fuck Disney, obviously. The concept of, like, getting arrested for trespassing when you unironically, equivocally weren't there to do any harm. What are you, liberals? Law? You base your morals on law? Yeah, no. I'm rooting for this guy at this point. But here comes the bad ending.
Well, hey, I love you. What do you mean they...
And that's when he receives the unfortunate news that shakes him harder than the cold, murky waters of Bay Lake.
They're gonna take you to jail.
He brought his
phone.
phone.
Turn myself in.
Just when he was celebrating his great escape, thinking he made it off the island.
I am almost certain the way they found who he was they searched for cell phone pings off the towers on the island, and they found his phone, were able to correlate the information because he probably had Google logged in with his email and his phone number, and like everything was attached, obviously, to his phone. He had it on with the internet connected on the island, right in its center in these buildings where he was camping. So I'm pretty sure his phone is what fucked him there. That's why you don't take your phone to protests, by the way. Do not take your phone to protests. Don't do it.
News that shakes him harder than the cold, murky water.
Take a camera, but not a phone.
Of Bay Lake.
They're gonna take you to jail if I don't come out and turn myself in.
Just when he was celebrating his great escape, thinking he made it off the island scot-free, it turns out not only did law enforcement have his boat and his supplies, but they also had his girlfriend and their van in their possession. The deal? Turn himself in and they'll let her go. Can they do that? Is that allowed?
I'm pretty sure they can, because they could just arrest her under suspicion of conspiracy, but also they could just lie. Like, the cops can just lie. Like, the cops are allowed to just lie to you to say anything that'll, like, lower your guard enough for you to incriminate yourself. So, like, even if they can't actually do that, they can say that that's what they're gonna do to convince him to turn himself in. Even if they're not actually allowed to do it. Yeah. The cops are allowed to lie to you.
I hear you. I love them, but not that much.
All right, Richard, unfortunately, you're going to be placed under arrest for trespassing, okay?
So that's exactly what he did. After getting his boat back from the sheriffs, he went to meet with the local police officers on the shore. His journey had finally come to its bittersweet conclusion. In the end, after all his preparations and the long journey just to get to the island, his week-long vacation was cut short. Richard was arrested for trespassing, but later entered a plea deal where he only had to pay a $100 fine, and the sheriff...
That's right. At the end of the day, he did just have to pay a $100 fine. Because, and reminder, trespassing laws are only a fee for admission to rich people. If you're rich enough, fines do not matter, and laws that are just punishable by fines do not matter to you. So if he was a bit richer, it would have been not a big deal. I'm sure he was able to pay it off, but like, yeah, at least it was just a $100 fine.
He received a lifetime ban from Disney World. I don't think he was planning on going back.
Yeah, I have a feeling he had no plans to go to Disney World. Also, I don't think he cares about the ban. I think he'll go back if he wants to, based on the fact that, you know, he's done it before. I bet next he'll bring a scuba gear. That would be the smart thing, scuba gear, and just scuba dive along the bottom to the island, and then stash your scuba gear in the building, and don't bring a phone. Then you can get all the footage you need, and you won't get caught. Yeah, obviously the trail cams are a problem, so you gotta, like crawl like Snake through the brush, constantly looking for trail cams. When you see one, you have to maneuver around it to, like, disable it. What channel is the video from? I'll once again say the channel is Doplex. I will link the video in chat as well, but there will, of course, be a link to the video when this comes out on YouTube. Yeah, get a watertight bag, a hermetically sealed bag, and put a ghillie suit in it. Go full DayZ. Just go full DayZ mode. Who cares? Yeah, I feel bad for the guy. I genuinely was rooting for him there. I really was. That's a genuine ACAB moment, I feel. That's an ACAB moment, in my opinion. He let him cook.